Jungkook grew up surrounded by love, the kind that didn't shout but stayed. Namjoon was firm, protective, a man whose silence often carried more weight than words. Jin was warmth itself, hands always busy in the kitchen, laughter softening the sharpest days. They were not his biological parents, but they were his fathers in every way that mattered. Jungkook never felt unwanted. He felt cherished. That was why he believed in love so deeply. So when Taehyung entered his life tall, intense, eyes dark with unspoken storms, Jungkook didn't hesitate. Taehyung loved him with a possessiveness that felt like devotion. He shielded Jungkook from the world, held his hand like he was something fragile and sacred. "You're mine," Taehyung would whisper, and Jungkook thought it meant forever. Taehyung stood before Namjoon and Jin like a man, ready to go to war. "I want to marry Jungkook," he said. The words fell heavy into the room. Namjoon didn't answer immediately. Jin's eyes flickered to Jungkook. Jungkook stood frozen near the stairs, breath shallow. He hadn't expected this. Not yet, not so suddenly. Taehyung bowed deeply. "I love him," he continued, "and I swear on everything I am, I will protect him." Namjoon studied him. Kim Tae-young was powerful. Everyone knew that. Wealth, influence, a name spoken with both admiration and fear. But Namjoon wasn't looking at his status, he was looking at the man's eyes. There was love there, and something else. Pain. "You're asking to take my son away from us," Namjoon said slowly. Taehyung nodded. "I am, and I know that fear, but I will never cage him. He will always have a home with me and with you." Jungkook felt his chest ache. Jin broke first. "Oh, for heaven's sake, June," he sniffed. "Look at how he looks at our baby." Taehyung's gaze flickered straight to Jungkook. Soft, warm, devoted. Jungkook's knees nearly gave out. Namjoon exhaled slowly. "If you ever hurt him," he said, voice calm but dangerous, "I will destroy you." Taehyung bowed again. "I would deserve it." Silence followed. Then Namjoon nodded once. "You have our blessing." Jungkook's world exploded. The morning of the wedding dawned crisp and bright, the sky painted in soft pastels of pink and gold. Jungkook stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his tuxedo nervously. His hands trembled slightly, a mixture of excitement and apprehension bubbling inside him. Today, he would become Taehyung's husband, his forever. "Relax, Cookie," Taehyung's voice said softly from behind him, sending a shiver of warmth down Jungkook's spine. "You look perfect. Just breathe." Turning, Jungkook met Taehyung's gaze. His amber eyes were impossibly deep, filled with something Jungkook couldn't quite name. Love, desire, and a shadow that flickered for only a moment before vanishing. When Jungkook walked down the aisle, every eye was on him, but his gaze never left Taehyung. And Taehyung, standing at the altar, looked at him like he had been waiting his entire life for this moment. The vow Taehyung spoke was perfect, too perfect. "I vow to stand beside you," he said, voice low, intimate, "to be your shelter when the world turns cruel." Taehyung stood before Namjoon and Jin like a man, ready to go to war. I want to marry Jungkook, he said. The words fell heavy into the room. Namjoon didn't answer immediately. Jin's eyes flickered to Jungkook. Jungkook stood frozen near the stairs, breath shallow. He hadn't expected this. Not yet, not so suddenly. Namjoon watched. Something in his chest twisted, but he ignored it. That night, Jungkook left his childhood home. Jin hugged him so tightly it hurt. Come back whenever you want, Jin whispered. Take care of yourself. Jungkook promised. Taehyung opened the car door for him. The city lights blurred past as Jungkook rested his head against the window, heart full, unaware that the road ahead was paved with thorns. Taehyung's house was massive, cold, beautiful. The doors closed behind them with a sound that echoed far too loudly. Welcome home, Taehyung said, his tone warm, yet there was something off. Jungkook smiled. He didn't see the way Taehyung's expression hardened the moment his back was turned. Inside bedroom, everything was arranged perfectly. Candlelight flickering across the polished floors, soft music drifting in the background, and a bed adorned with fresh petals. The scene screamed romance, yet an undercurrent of tension hummed beneath the surface. Taehyung pulled Jungkook close, his lips brushing gently against his forehead. You're mine now, he whispered. All of you. Jungkook felt a thrill, a fluttering in his chest. All of me, always. I can't believe this is real, Jungkook whispered, his head resting against Taehyung's shoulder. Taehyung's hand traced a line along Jungkook's jaw, tilting his face up. It's real, he murmured, voice low, almost hypnotic. And it always will be for now. The last words carried a subtle weight, almost imperceptible like a shadow passing through a sunlit room. Their night began tenderly, with laughter and whispers, fingers intertwined, hearts beating in sync. For a moment, everything was as it should be. The love, the trust, the future, they were all tangible, held in their intertwined fingers. Jungkook closed his eyes, imagining the life they would build together, the laughter, the shared secrets, the quiet mornings wrapped in each other's warmth.
Jungkook woke up alone. For a brief full second, he smiled, thinking Taehyung had gone to make breakfast. Jungkook sat up slowly, heart fluttering with a shy happiness. The house was a quiet, too quiet. No footsteps, no voices, no warmth. He slipped out of bed, barefoot, against the cold floor. His body ached faintly, but he ignored it. Marriage aches, Jin had joked. Jungkook smiled at the memory. Then he heard laughter, a woman laughter. It came from downstairs. His chest tightened. Not jealousy, not yet. Confusion. He stepped down the stairs, felt heavier than the last, as if the house itself was pushing him away. The laughter grew clearer. Jungkook froze at the bottom step. Taehyung stood in the living room, shirt unbuttoned, arm wrapped around a woman dressed casually, as if she belonged there. She noticed Jungkook first. "Oh," she said, eyes straying over him slowly. "So this is him." Taehyung looked up. His eyes were empty. He said calmly, "You are awake?" "Oh, Jungkook," Taehyung said casually, as if nothing were wrong. "This is Shani, my girlfriend." The word stuck like a blade. Jungkook's mind spun, disbelief and horror colliding. "You're what?" Jenny smiled cruelly. "Did not he tell you?" Taehyung stepped closer to Jungkook. Taehyung's embers high held no warmth now, voice low and lethal. "Don't look so surprised," he said coldly. "Did you really think this," he gestured between them, "was ever real?" Jungkook staggered back, the room spinning. "Taehyung, I don't understand." Jungkook's throat went dry. His mind refused to process the scene, his chest tightening with disbelief. This, this is, this is not you. Taehyung's eyes, once filled with tenderness, were now cold, calculating. "It's me," he said softly, "the real me. You have been pawned, Jungkook. All of this marriage, affection, it was never love, not from me." Jungkook felt the floor tilt beneath them. "What? What do you mean?" he whispered, voice trembling. "I never loved you, Jungkook. This marriage, it was my plan. You were my revenge." Jungkook's knees gave out. He caught himself against the wall, nails digging into plaster. "Revenge?" he whispered. Taehyung stepped closer. "You know your father," he said quietly. "The great Namjoon, the respected one." Jungkook shook his head. "What are you saying?" "My parents died screaming," Taehyung said flatly. "Burned alive in a fire your father caused." "That's a lie," Jungkook cried. Taehyung grabbed his chin suddenly, hard enough to hurt. "You don't get to speak," he hissed. Jungkook gasped. Jenny watched with open amusement. "I married you to break him," Taehyung continued. "To take what he loved the most. To own it." Jungkook's vein blurred. "You are my property now." Taehyung released him, letting him fall. "From today onward," Taehyung said coldly, "you cook, clean, obey. At night," he laughed softly, "you will be useful," he finished. Jungkook curled into himself on the floor.
Jenny's smirk widened as she approached, placing a hand on Taehyung's shoulder. "Looks like the honeymoon is over," she said, her voice dripping with malice. And in that moment, Jungkook realized the first night of their marriage had not been the start of a lifelong love, but the opening chapter of a nightmare from which he could not yet awaken. Taehyung took Jungkook's phone that very moment. "No contact," he said. "No family, no escape." Jungkook reached for it desperately. Taehyung leaned close, voice a whisper meant to destroy. "I have videos," he said. "If you run, the world sees you begging beneath me." Jungkook went still. Then, without a word, he slipped it into his pocket. The last link to the outside world gone. Jungkook collapsed to the floor, not crying, not screaming, just staring. The boy who believed in forever died quietly inside him. Days passed, or maybe weeks. Time lost meaning inside Taehyung's house. Jungkook was given rules instead. Wake before sunrise, clean silently, speak only when spoken to, sleep where told. At night it was worse. Taehyung's cold, demanding hands and lips left Jungkook feeling hollow, shattered. Each touch reminded him that he had been deceived, that the man he loved had never truly cared. By the fourth week, Jungkook barely recognized himself. His reflection in the mirror seemed a stranger, eyes hollow, lips pale, and shoulders stooped under invisible chains. He whispered to himself in the dark, clinging to memories of their love, praying for something to break the nightmare. That evening, Jungkook stood outside the study door, tray in hand, when he heard Taehyung's voice inside. "I don't remember last night," Taehyung said irritably. Again, Jenny laughed softly. "You've been working too hard, baby." Jungkook's fingers tightened around the tray. Jenny was careful. She never hurt Jungkook where marks could be seen. Her cruelty lived in words, in laughter, in reminders. "You know," she said one night, leaning against the wall as Jungkook folded laundry. Taehyung never touches me the way he touches you. Jungkook's hands trembled. He looks at you like dirt, Jenny continued, but he looks at me like lover, like choice. She crouched down, whispering, "You're just something he used to satisfy him." Jungkook pressed his nails into his palms until they bled. From upstairs, Taehyung's voice echoed. "Jungkook." He flinched instinctively. Jenny smiled wider. "Go. Don't keep your owner waiting." Something inside Jungkook cracked quietly. The breaking point came unexpectedly. One afternoon, Jungkook fainted, his body succumbing to exhaustion and stress. When he woke, the ceiling was unfamiliar. White, a man stood beside the bed. Pale skin, calm eyes. "Dr. Scott, my name is Min Yoongi," the man said quietly. Jungkook tried to sit up. Pain exploded in his head. Yoongi pressed him gently back down. "You fainted. Did you felt dizzy before too?" Yoongi said gently, his voice the only warmth in Jungkook's dark world. Jungkook's lips trembled as he whispered, "Yes, sometimes nauseous too. How long has this been going on?" Jungkook said, "Since 2 weeks." Yoongi's expression softened. His voice echoed, "Congratulations, you're pregnant." The words struck Jungkook like a hammer to his chest. Panic surged through him. "No, no, Taehyung, he'll hurt the baby. I can't let him know." Yoongi stiffened. "Does he hurt you?" Jungkook didn't answer. That was answer enough. "I won't tell him," Yoongi said firmly. "But you need to tell me everything. What did they do to you?" Jungkook grabbed his wrist desperately. "If he knows," Jungkook whispered, tears streaming, "he'll kill my baby." Yoongi's jaw tightened. "I won't tell," he said quietly. Footsteps approached. Jenny's voice rang out brightly. "Oh, he's awake?" Yoongi turned cold. Jungkook looked at Jenny, then at Taehyung behind her. Something in Yoongi's eyes shifted. Understanding. Jungkook blinked. Yoongi gave him cell phone before he came into everyone's sight. As Yoongi left, Jungkook clutched the bedsheet. "I promise." Jungkook pressed his hands to his stomach, shaking. "I'll protect you," he thought. "Even if I die." Taehyung changed after the doctor visit. Not softer, just silent. Some mornings he stared at Jungkook as if seeing him for the first time, eyes softened, sometimes whispering tender words, eyes carrying love, maybe. Other days, his cruelty sharpened suddenly, erupting without warning. The pregnancy became Jungkook's only reason to breathe. He ate when he could, endured when he had to, but fear followed him like a shadow. One night, returning dishes to the kitchen, Jungkook stopped. Jenny was on the phone. Her voice dropped, sharp and satisfied. "The drugs are working," she said. "He forgets everything the next morning. He hates Jungkook more every day." Papa covered everything. "He killed Taehyung's parents for money. Namjoon was just trying to save them." Jungkook's heart stopped. So it was all a lie. Everything. Jungkook's blood turned to ice. "And the baby?" the voice on the other end asked. Jenny laughed. "There won't be any baby." Jungkook covered his mouth to silence his gasp. "I'll abort it," Jenny continued. "Then I'll marry Taehyung. He won't even remember Jungkook." The phone clicked off. Jungkook's stomach turned. The betrayal, the cruelty, the lies, they were all part of Jenny's plan. She had used Taehyung, manipulated his grief and rage, twisted him into a weapon against the person he loved. Jungkook stood frozen in the dark. She knew about the baby. She, she will kill it. Anger flared inside him, sharp and hot, mingling with fear. For the first time in weeks, Jungkook felt clarity. Taehyung had been a pawn, just like him, and Jennie was the true threat. His fists clenched, knuckles white, rage, fear, and betrayal coiled within him. He retreated silently to his room, heart pounding, mind racing. He couldn't stay passive any longer. If Jenny succeeded, he would lose everything, his freedom, his dignity, even his child. The world blurred around Jungkook. He couldn't stay. He couldn't let her win. He had to escape. He wasn't a prisoner anymore. He was a mother, and he would escape or die trying. The mansion was silent. Jungkook's pulse pounded in his ears as he crept through the grand halls. He couldn't stay here. He couldn't allow her to destroy his child or himself. Jenny appeared around the corner, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Where do you think you're going? Where are you going? Jenny asked calmly. Jungkook backed away, breath breaking. You. You're giving him drugs. You. You are behind all this. Jenny smiled, slowly, terribly. Oh, she said. So you figured it out. She stepped closer. That means I can't let you live like this anymore. Jenny reached for him. Instinct took over. Jungkook's hand closed around the nearest object, a heavy brass lamp. I won't let you touch my baby, he whispered. Then he swung. The impact was sickening. It hit her shoulder, sending her stumbling backward, her scream echoing through the mansion. Jungkook! Taehyung's voice rang from somewhere above, sharp and full of confusion. But he didn't appear yet. Jungkook didn't wait. He darted down the hall, heart racing. His hands shook violently as he grabbed his phone hidden in a vent which Yoongi gave him weeks ago and dialed Dr. Yoongi's number. His voice was sharp, urgent, trembling with both fear and resolve. Yoongi, I need help. Please. She knows. She's going to kill my baby. Where are you? Yoongi demanded. I have left the house. I'm coming, Yoongi said. Do not hang up. Headlights pierced the darkness less than 20 minutes later. Get in, Yoongi said, urgency in his eyes. Now. Jungkook didn't hesitate. He dove into the car, Yoongi sliding in beside him. You're safe, Yoongi said, pressing a reassuring hand to Jungkook's shoulder. We'll deal with her later. Right now, you're safe. Jungkook collapsed. Meanwhile, inside the mansion, chaos erupted. Jenny's scream cut through the halls as guards rushed toward the hall. Taehyung appeared at the top of the staircase, eyes wide with shock, amber flames of confusion and fury mixing in his gaze. Jungkook, he shouted, voice strained. Stop, wait. But it was too late. Jungkook was already gone. He ran barefoot on cold marble floors, down the stairs, out of the mansion, into the night that swallowed Jungkook whole. Jungkook, he shouted, his voice tearing apart in the empty road. Jungkook stopped, but the wall tilted. The drug Jenny had fed him still poisoned his blood, his vision blurred, his head pounding as memory slipped through his fingers like sand. He saw Jungkook's shadow at the end of the road. He chased it, fell, got up, ran again. His mind was a broken maze of guilt and rage, and something dangerously close to fear. Please, he whispered hoarsely, stumbling into an alley. Please don't leave. But Jungkook was gone. Gone like he had never been real. Taehyung dropped to his knees on the concrete, hands trembling, breath erratic. His phone slipped from his grasp. He couldn't even remember when he last held Jungkook gently, only cruelty, only venom, only hate that had never truly been his own. Jungkook was gone. And for the first time since his parents' death, Taehyung felt something worse than hatred. He felt terror. If Jungkook had run, there was only one place left, Namjoon's house. Namjoon was not expecting Taehyung. When the doorbell rang late that night, sharp and urgent, Namjoon frowned, setting aside the book in his hands. Jin looked up from the kitchen, unease already settling in his chest. I'll get it, Namjoon said. The moment he opened the door, he froze. Taeyong stood there, disheveled, eyes bloodshot, breathing unevenly, rage and desperation tangled together in a way that made him unrecognizable. Where is he? Taehyung demanded. Namjoon's confusion was immediate. Taeyong, what are you talking about? Where is Jungkook? Jin rushed in from the kitchen, alarmed. The question shattered what little restraint Taehyung had left. The drugs twisted Namjoon's concern into something darker, something fake, a lie. Taehyung laughed bitterly. Don't do that, he snapped. Don't pretend. You've always been good at pretending. Namjoon stiffened. What are you saying? You know exactly where he is, Taehyung hissed, stepping forward. Just like you knew where my parents were the night they burned alive. Silence exploded in the room. Jin gasped. Namjoon went pale. What did you just say? Taeyong's eyes were wild now, pain bleeding through his anger. You killed them, my parents. You set the fire. You took everything from me, and now you're acting like you don't even know their names? Namjoon staggered back as if struck. Their names? He whispered. Taehyung faltered for half a second, confused. Kim Hanyul and Park Min-seo, he said harshly. Namjoon's breath hitched. Namjoon staggered back, as if struck. Jin grabbed his arm. Namjoon, those names. Namjoon's breath broke. No, he whispered. No, that's not possible. Namjoon sat down slowly, hands trembling. I knew them, he said hoarsely. They were my closest friends. Taehyung froze. What? We studied together at university, Namjoon continued, voice shaking. We built our first business ideas together. They were family to me. Taehyung's rage faltered. Namjoon looked up, eyes red. The night of the fire, I was there. Taehyung lunged forward. So, you admit it? No, Namjoon shouted back. I was trying to save them. Silence crashed between them. Namjoon stood, pacing like a man, reliving a nightmare. Jack, he said slowly, our manager, your parents trusted him. Taehyung's heart pounded. Jack was drowning in debt. Namjoon continued. He insured the factory secretly. He set the fire for money. He locked the doors. Taehyung's ears rang. I arrived when the flames had already spread, Namjoon said, voice breaking. Namjoon covered his face. I couldn't reach them. The roof collapsed. The room echoed with grief. I testified against Jack, Namjoon whispered. But he twisted the truth against me. Taeyong stumbled back. Jack, Janie's father. Jenny's face flashed in his mind. Her whispers, her lies. You didn't kill them, Taeyang said hollowly. No, Namjoon replied softly. I tried to search their son, but I was unable to find him. And I promised myself if I ever met their child, I'd protect him with my life. And if I had known you were their son. Taeyang's knees gave out. He dropped to the floor. I destroyed Jungkook, he whispered. I destroyed the one person who loved me. Taehyung collapsed to his knees. I didn't know, he sobbed. I swear, I didn't know. Namjoon closed his eyes. Namjoon looked down at him, eyes burning with pain and restrained fury. Jungkook, where is he? What you did to him? If my son is harmed because of you, Namjoon said coldly, you will beg him for forgiveness every day for the rest of your life. And even then, you may not deserve it. Taehyung broke down completely, and somewhere far away, Jungkook slept unaware that the monster who broke him had just learnt the truth. The mansion welcomed Taehyung like a tomb. Every light was on, yet the place felt dead silent, hollow. Taehyung walked in slowly. His eyes were cold, now not drugged, not confused. Clear, deadly clear. Jenny was in the living room, lounging as if she owned the place, a glass of wine in her hand. She looked up and smiled. "You're back early," she said lazily. "Did you find your little husband?" Taeyang didn't answer. He crossed the room in 3 strides and slapped the glass from her hand. It shattered against the wall. Jenny screamed. Before she could react, his hand closed around her throat, not tight enough to kill, but tight enough to remind her who held power now. "You lied to me about everything," he said calmly. Jenny laughed nervously. "They, listen. You made me hurt him," Taehyung continued, eyes dark as voids. "You made me believe lies." "Taehyung, wait." "He didn't. You turned my grief into a weapon. You knew exactly what you were doing," he whispered. "Didn't you?" Her eyes widened, but then she laughed. "Oh, Tae," she mocked. "You finally figured it out." 2 men appeared behind her, gripping her arms before she could scream. Jack was already there, tied to a chair, sweating, pale. The basement lights flickered on, casting long shadows across concrete walls that had never heard mercy. Taehyung stood between them, hands in his pockets, posture relaxed. "You ruined my life," he said, voice eerily calm. "You killed my parents for money. Then you raised your daughter to destroy me from the inside. Tae, listen to me. You don't understand." "Don't speak," Taeyang said. His voice was calm. That frightened her more than shouting ever could. He stopped in front of them, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on Jenny. "Don't speak," Taeyang said. His voice was calm. That frightened her more than shouting ever could. He stopped in front of them, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on Jenny. The guards stepped forward. What followed was not loud, not dramatic, just consequences. Hours later, Jenny was on her knees, mascara streaked, voice shaking. "You think you're innocent?" she screamed. "You used him. You enjoyed breaking Jungkook." Taehyung crouched in front of her. He said quietly, "I will carry that forever." Jenny laughed hysterically. "Then carry this too," she hissed. Taehyung stilled. He was pregnant. The world stopped. "What?" Taehyung whispered. "Jungkook," Jenny said, smiling through tears. "He was carrying your child." "Then carry this too," she hissed. Taehyung stilled. He was pregnant. The world stopped. "What?" Taehyung whispered. "Jungkook," Jenny said, smiling through tears. "He was carrying your child. I found out before he escaped. He begged the doctor to hide it from you." Taehyung's vision blurred, not from drugs this time, but from tears he didn't remember allowing. "He was scared of you," she continued softly. "Scared you'd kill the baby. Scared you'd hurt it like you hurt him." Taehyung staggered back. Images flooded his mind, Jungkook fainting, clutching his stomach, trembling in fear. His knees hit the concrete. "I..." His voice broke. "This can't be true." Jenny's laughter echoed. "I was going to get rid of it." Jenny shrugged. "Once he escaped or died, it didn't matter. I was going to marry you anyway. He stepped back, signaling to the guards. This ends tonight, he said quietly, not with mercy. As the doors closed behind him, Jenny screamed his name, but Taehyung didn't turn around. He walked up the stairs alone, each step heavier than the last, because now revenge no longer satisfied him. Now only one thing remained: finding Jungkook, begging for forgiveness, and protecting the child he had almost destroyed. He walked into the bedroom. Jungkook's room, sat on the bed, and for the first time since childhood, Kim Tae-young cried without restrained hands covering his face, shoulders shaking violently. I hurt you, he whispered into the silence. And I hurt our child. There was no punishment crueler than regret, so deep it felt like death. 5 years had passed. Taeyong never stopped searching. Every street, every alley, every familiar shadow was haunted by the memory of Jungkook. Every night he whispered apologies into the darkness, even when no one could hear. His mansion, once a place of pride and power, had become a prison of his own guilt. He had tried everything, following leads, speaking to old contacts, but Jungkook had vanished like a ghost. Each failure burned him. Namjoon and Jin, who had once despised him for what he had done, finally forgave Taeyang. The sincerity of his regret, the endless apologies, and the weight of his suffering softened even the hardest hearts. Even with their forgiveness, Taeyang could not find Jungkook. Every lead ended in silence. Every memory of his husband haunted him, twisting his grief into desperation. And yet, he never gave up, but Jungkook remained elusive, like a ghost who refused to be. Taeyang attended a school program for community support and education. It was a charity initiative, nothing more, yet fate had other plans. Taeyang's eyes, however, were drawn to a small boy in the front row, a quiet child who watched the performances intently. There was something familiar in his face, the sharp, observant eyes, the quiet confidence hiding a gentle soul. Taekook, the teacher called. Come forward. The boy moved with a hesitant smile. When he approached Taehyung during a small activity, Taehyung felt a strange, almost magnetic connection. His heart clenched, an inexplicable bond tugging at him. He knelt to the boy's level. Hi, I'm Taehyung. What's your name? Taekook, the boy replied softly. Taekook. That's an unusual name. The boy giggled. My parents named me that. I like it. Something in his chest shattered. You're amazing on stage, he said, his voice uneven. Taekook smiled, shrugging. Thanks, uncle. The boy's presence tugged at something deep and instinctive in Taeyang. Over the next few weeks, he found reasons to meet him at school programs, tutoring sessions, and art events. Slowly, a bond grew not as father and son, not yet, but as friend and friend. They shared small talks, laughs, and moments that filled the emptiness in Taehyung's heart. Every smile, every innocent glance was a painful reminder of the son he didn't know he had been missing. And then one afternoon, in a park near the school, he saw it. Jungkook, holding Taekook's hand, laughing, alive. His heart stopped. The years of guilt, the endless search, everything collapsed into a single overwhelming moment. Jungkook, Taehyung whispered, voice cracking, heart pounding. He froze. That was Jungkook, his Jungkook, and Taekook, his son. Taehyung didn't approach immediately. He watched from a distance, his emotions a tangle of hope, guilt, and fear. Jungkook had grown taller, stronger, but still carrying the same quiet pain in his eyes. and Taekook's hand never left Jungkook's, an anchor and a shield. He followed Taekook discreetly after school and discovered that Jungkook was living in a small apartment. Jungkook had rebuilt his life in secret, living with Yoongi and his husband Jimin. The two had taken care of Jungkook and Taekook as family, giving them love, stability, and safety after years of trauma. Taehyung hesitated outside the house, unsure if Jungkook would ever forgive him. He rang the bell. A man came out to greet him, a tall, calm figure with gentle eyes. Taehyung recognized him immediately. Min Yoongi, the doctor who had once saved Jungkook. Yoongi also recognized him. Beside him, another man, Jimin, smiled as Taekook ran to him. Jungkook noticed Taehyung immediately and froze. His eyes hardened. What are you doing here? Jungkook asked, stepping in front of Taekook protectively. Taehyung approached cautiously. Jungkook. His voice was hoarse, small, hesitant. Jungkook spun around, eyes sharp and guarded. Don't, don't come near us. Jungkook noticed Taehyung immediately and froze. His eyes hardened. What are you doing here? Jungkook asked, stepping in front of Taekook protectively. Taehyung approached cautiously. Jungkook. His voice was hoarse, small, hesitant. Jungkook spun around, eyes sharp and guarded. Don't, don't come near us. Taehyung's eyes filled with tears. I know I can't undo the past. I know I have no right to ask. But I've found you. I've found him. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you, if you'll let me. Jungkook stepped back, shaking his head. You can't. You don't deserve this. You hurt me. After everything, after Jenny, after what you did, how can I trust you? You destroyed everything. Jimin and Yoongi was standing there silent, not interrupting them. They want them to clear misunderstandings, and after that, whatever is Jungkook decision, they are with him. Taehyung dropped to his knees, tears streaming. I don't expect forgiveness. I only I only want a chance to make things right. For you, for him. He looked at Taekook, who clung to Jungkook, curious and cautious. For our son. Yoongi stepped forward, placing a hand on Jungkook's shoulder. He's sincere. Let him speak. Let him try. For Taekook's sake. He needs father's love too. The reunion was not instant. It was slow, careful, but over days, as Taehyung showed nothing but patience, honesty, and love, Jungkook began to let the walls crumble. Seeing how Taekook loved Taehyung, seeing how much his father regretted the past, Jungkook realized the truth. Taehyung had suffered too, and his love had never truly died. Namjoon and Jin sat with Jungkook, Taehyung standing silently, waiting. We need to tell you everything, Namjoon said. About Jenny, about Jack, about why Taehyung did what he did. Jungkook's hands trembled. Jungkook's voice was quiet. So he wasn't entirely lying? Taehyung swallowed. I hurt you. I will never forgive myself. But I never wanted to hurt our son. I couldn't see clearly. Jenny, she poisoned everything. I was blind. The weight of the truth softened something in Jungkook's heart, not fully, but just enough to let a crack of forgiveness appear. Jungkook's chest heaved. He looked at Taekook, who clung to his side. For a long moment, silence hung. Then Jungkook slowly approached, tears streaming. Taehyung, I don't know if I can ever forget, he said softly, but for Taekook, for our family, I forgive you. Taehyung's shoulders trembled. He embraced Jungkook, holding him as though letting go would erase all 5 years of pain. Taehyung lowered his head, guilt and sorrow etching his features. I know, and I will spend the rest of my life making up for the pain I caused. I've already lost so much. I can't lose you again. Not now, not ever. Yoongi and Jimin watched quietly, hearts full. Taekook hugged his father, finally understanding the bond he had been missing. For the first time in years, Taehyung smiled. It wasn't relief, it wasn't happiness yet, but it was hope. The family broken, scarred, but alive stood together, and in that moment, the past, the lies, the pain, all began to fade